mostly blank. And here's the Double Fine Adventure stuff. See how far I got. Let's see. It was interesting because I didn't have any ideas for the game. I was like, oh God, what's this game going to be about? And on the first day, I sat down and wrote. There's nothing on the first page. And then right about the end of the second page, the start of the third page, basically had the idea for the entire game. March 13th.
It's been exactly a month, actually.
Oh, it's been exactly a month. What happened since then? It's funny, I told people, everyone, a lot of people thought that we'd already had an idea for a game.
I guess all we know about it is going to be 2D and it's going to be kind of old school. Can you give us any other little tidbits about what you got in store?
I was trying to think of a fake tidbit to give you, but it's all going to be about chinchillas. Did I mention that? I mean, that's obvious. As soon as you said old school adventure, it's going to be mostly chinchilla based. A lot of fur tech. It's going to be a lot of nudity, super violent. It's going to be the first actual snuff game. Okay. I think that's pretty, I hope that was clear in the Kickstarter
Who are you going to kill?
Pitch. The team.
All of them? Okay, Ron as well.
Yeah, he's only half alive right now anyway. A lot of people thought we had an idea for a game on it, or a game all designed, ready to go. And they're like, of course, they're not idiots. They're gonna have something ready to go. And I was like, no, because I wanted to do all this. Like, you know, we're gonna document it. We're gonna start with when the cameras are rolling. We're gonna document the whole thing. And so I didn't have an idea. And I was a little scared, except for, I think it's just because now they've been, you know, doing this for a long time. You have a certain amount of faith that you will sit down and ideas will come, because they come if you just put enough time sitting down with a notebook writing, something will happen. And this is like the first entry in the notebook is dated 3/15, which I think is the day, it's the day after it closed, right? This morning I came in and this is like the first time I've had a day after the Kickstarter ended, so I thought I should actually get to work on this game that we're working on. So the first thing I do when I'm working on a game is I start writing. These are all my notebooks. I just started a new notebook and it's already covered with stickers. And I start writing. And I remember I sat down and the first page is me thinking about a code name for the game. Then I'm talking about some girls in the 6th grade for some reason. And then I'm complaining about my memory problems. It's about like the process of getting ideas out of your head. So when I'm really disciplined and on it, I would come in every morning and lock myself in my office and just do free writing. And free writing is something we actually learned in junior high school, but I started doing a lot in college because it's the way of getting past that hump of like the blank page. It's very intimidating. Let me show you one. Scary. What do you put on here? Oh God, you know. And then I'm like going over this list of old ideas, like what? Oh, then I'm talking about whether I should hire this person. But then, because like, this is where I sit down in the morning and I start writing. And I have to keep writing, and that's why ridiculous things come up. And I started this morning for the first time with Double Fine Adventure. Double Fine Adventure. I don't even want to show you what I'm writing because someone's gonna like download it and be like, I've decoded the first notes. And now I start talking about the game, and now I start thinking about, should I do this idea? I've been thinking about this idea, and I've been thinking about this idea. And then right here, you can see there's a little star and a line. Like, this is where I had the idea for the game. So it took at least 3 pages.
What was that first germ of an idea that wound up in the book today?
Well, I can't tell you that, because I'm not sure if I like it or not. And sometimes it seems like you're not having any ideas, but you realize if you go over the last week, they were like, every day had some little tiny thing that moved it forward. And it's like you've got to move forward a little bit because you get to that next deep well of ideas. You know, the first day, the most productive day, like, oh, it could all fit together like this. This is great. And then I get a couple more ideas. You can see the stars and stars here. And there's some days where no stars happen. And I start writing the name ideas down here, as you've seen before. But because you do a lot of name brainstorming, where we just write down all these dumb names, trying to come up with the name of the character. And I remember there's a page where I came up with the name Grim Fandango and wrote it really big, and I was super excited about it. Oh, here's a copy of my notebook for Grim Fandango. Let's see. Here's me talking about Mexican folklore, and then here's me trying to figure out the name of the game. Dead Leads, Deadly Deeds, Deeds of Death, Death's Deeds. Here's trying to come up with ideas for the name. Reaper's Holiday, Reaper's Road Trip, Reaper's Rendezvous, Reaper's Last Ride, Reaper's Road, Trail of the Reaper, Tools of the Reaper, Death of the Salesman, that's been taken. Reaper Man, that's pretty good, Reaper Man. Remorseful Reaper, Bone to Lose, Glen Glare, Glen Reaper, Fear the Reaper, Growl Reaper, Dougie Reaper, Reaping Ivy, Bony Manifesto, Friendly Reaper, Chimp Reaper, that would have been good. Oh no, not again. Grim Journey, Hungry Hunter, The Last Reap, The Final Reap. I put a box around The Last Reap. Like that must have been a favorite idea for a while. Grim Reaper, I'm still doing it. Oh, you can tell my fear is starting to mount as I'm like, am I ever gonna come up with a name for this game? Oh my God. Something Underworld, Something Figures, The Last Fiesta, Grim Fandango. I'm such a fucking genius. You can see what a relief that was.
I guess it's been a real long time since you made a 2D adventure game. But do you think you still got it? Like, are you still in touch with those skills?
And actually, I've been doing these interviews and surveys and, discussions, about trying to figure out adventure games, history, and what was good and bad, and what we can change about them.
These are all the ones you made, right? Along the Wall, Grim Fandango.
It depends what you thought of.
I played Grim Fandango. Yeah. Monkey Island didn't play. Day of the Tentacle I didn't play. Full Throttle I didn't. Psychonauts is good.
Yeah. The writing was half good.
Yeah.
Half good on the writing.
Yeah. There was half of it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I don't know. You're making an adventure game. You're gonna do something different to make it better.
I'm trying to split up what was good about them and what have we learned since, and what was better, what could be made better about them. Because I don't want to make it just like a nostalgia thing. I think it's interesting to think about why people like adventure games, and really what they like about them. Not just like someone who remembers Monkey Island from when I was 12 I played Monkey Island, I'd love to go play that again. But people who are actually playing them now, and what they actually enjoy about them.
Why is it that a game like Monkey Island or Maniac Mansion that was made 20 years ago, why is it that people still love those games? Why is it that people post hundreds of videos on YouTube of themselves playing the music from those games? What was it about those that really was so interesting and touched people like that? So is a lot of the interest that people have today in adventure games, is that more, do you think that's more nostalgia based? Because there are a lot of people who love adventure games, but do they love the nostalgia of them as opposed to the actual adventure games? You want to do something that really focuses on what made those old point-and-click adventure games a lot of fun. And I mean, there's just a rabid fan base for those things, as we obviously saw. So you really want to take from those games what made them really special. But I also don't think you just want to go make a 2D point-and-click adventure game, with the little cursor that moves around and all that, because I could never go back and just design Monkey Island again, because I'm a different person today, than I was back then. The world has changed. Gamers have changed, we've changed. And so I think there's a lot that has to evolve in them. And I don't know exactly what those are off the top of my head, but they do need to evolve, but they need to evolve in such a way that they don't lose the spirit of them and they don't lose what made them so interesting to people.
The things that came up most when we talked about what was good about adventure games were the pacing of them. I think that's important, that people like a game that moves at their pace. I mean, obviously story and characters, even though other games have those, I still think adventure games are the genre that still puts them as the number one thing. Okay.
So I'm glad that you guys are done now. I can shred.
Hi guys. I'm late for another meeting. You can talk about now or back then. What do you remember is the dislike the most about adventure games and the most frustrating moment you had? Who wants to answer that one first?
Pixel hunting, for sure. That was really frustrating.
Do you remember an example of that?
I think it was either in a King's Quest or Gabriel Knight game. And
It's gonna seem fishy if you only pick Sierra games for the bad example.
well, that's the thing, because the LucasArts games had had the
real
thing.
good pixel hunt though.
I've already apologized for that one.
I know, yeah.
One of the interesting advantages of adventure, well, I was thinking about a lot of people I talked to had the same experience of early adventure. Their first adventure game experience was like this promise of infinite possibility.
When I first started playing adventure games, I was like a kid, and I didn't really understand games. Games were still magical to me, so I would boot it up, and I had no idea what to expect. Like, I had a Commodore 64. You know, just like, I don't know, it just created this feeling of completely crazy, open-ended possibility.
It's hard to still execute on that promise of infinite possibility, I think, with a modern adventure game. When you're playing Machinarium, you don't have that feeling of like, I'm this robot and I can do whatever I want in this world. It's more like this game about finding where the interaction is and what are all the interactions I can have in this world.
It should be more about playing with the game than trying to beat it as soon as possible. So you should be able to enjoy some places and situations even for several times. Even you solved it already, it should be fun to play that little puzzle or little interactive toy again, just for fun.
I mean, I like that they have that they were funny. They're kind of whimsical. I guess I just didn't like the puzzles. Maybe
Puzzles. So you would never advocate a game that had puzzles in it?
no.
Like Portal, for example. One of the big questions was whether or not games should have puzzles in them, adventure games. I came up and we were talking to the Super Brothers, talking to Craig and Chris about Sword and Sorcery, about how when they played the old adventure games, the thing that didn't hold up for them was the puzzles because there were these blocks to the flow, and they really wanted the flow to happen.
And actually, those types of mechanics, the sort of inventory puzzles, are things that I don't miss from older adventure games. What I love about older adventure games is that there's sort of a flow and there's a story and there's characters and it just kind of surprises you. And it was never figuring out, which little pixel and which screen do I combine with the others. So, but we tried to make it more just flow.
I thought about that for a long time. I was like, are puzzles an antiquated, notion for these games? Are they a block to the narrative flow? But I felt like in the end, that wasn't the case for the game we were making. I think the game they were making was a really specific, like for what they wanted to make, it wouldn't have suited their purposes to have a bunch of like head scratchers.
But that was a really challenging moment. It was kind of like trying to shed some of those things that were like burned into our heads from playing all these games when we were kids.
Like when we're talking about adventure games, people's memories of playing adventure games when they were kids, so many of them were like, that's the only thing I had to do that summer. I got stuck at my grandma's house for the summer and I played Dead Tentacle every day. Like, people have so many options now for entertainment. It's gonna be really hard to make sure that there's something really sticky about the game that makes them want to come back. I think a lot of that is atmosphere for me. Like when you feel haunted by a game sometimes, like you're just at your work or you're at school and you think about the music and you think about the world and you're like, that world feels so real that you want to go back there. That's the goal, and I think that's the way you keep people playing an adventure game.
So anyway, did that help? I mean, is what I'm telling you helping
don't
at
try
all?
to improve adventure games because they're always bad. Just make an old bad one.
Yeah, make one of your old bad ones.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's what
well,
people
thank you,
like.
Eric Volkoff, for coming
Right.
and spreading your special brand of love.
And I mean, I'm just kidding. I really do think that the adventure game you make will be about as good as the old ones you made.
Oh man, I better be able to still. I love looking at this font. It just makes me so happy. Takes me back. We should do one of these games. Point and click adventures are awesome. I repeat a lot of the kind of recap sometimes, like where I am so far, like what I have. Activities in one story affect the other. Customizing. This is a drawing that I hope will become the title of the box, cover of the box. Here's storyboards for that same intro. I started writing some. No, I'm not going to read you those names yet. and there's a certain point you just kind of instinctively know, okay, now I need to talk to somebody. Because you kind of feel like, okay, this is as far as I can go right now with what's in my head. Yeah. So I was thinking about this game. Mm-hmm. And I had an idea. Well, the first thing I did, well, forget it. No, let me start over. Okay. So.
Would you like to read your notes?
Then you talk to somebody who you feel, okay, you're kind of taking a risk because you're exposing all your ideas to somebody for the first time, and they might laugh at you. But my idea for the story idea for this game is about two stories kind of happening side by side about a boy and a girl. And they're in totally different worlds and at different places. And
different realities or just different
well, that's
places?
A good question. That's an interesting question.
I'm jumping ahead.
We don't know. Mostly I just get this relief that I told someone about the game and they didn't tell me it was stupid. But maybe they'll be like, oh, they'll get inspired and they'll say a whole bunch of other things. But then you can take back into the cave with you and like, now I have a whole bunch of stuff to chew on and like ideas to bounce around and more dots to play with. It's hard to tell your ideas to people. That mostly sets it up, except for my awesome storyboards that I did. That was the idea for the intro. See, they're leaning against that wall, and he's in a spaceship, and she's looking at a castle.
So then you just choose the one you want to start with?
Yeah. The story so far, the reason I'm excited about it is that I've never done a story about this type, like this age of character, like a coming-of-age story, and about a boy and a girl, something about that, the pairing of those like equal stories going on at the same time. And the things, I guess, that are interesting about that age to me are, it's an age where you're learning to take control and take some power in your life, and also the responsibility that goes along with that. You know, you're learning that you have power in your life, and you're learning you have the power to control your destiny. You have the power to hurt people, and then kind of, becoming an adult or becoming a young adult is about learning that you can grab the wheel of your life and steer it in a different direction. I think that's, but then you take the responsibility for what you've done, and now no one's telling you, that you're going to be okay if you go in this direction because you've chosen to do it.
I think it's a really creative idea, but I don't think it's the kind of thing we want to fund at this moment.
I think that one thing.
That's so funny because that's so crazy. Why would anyone say that? That would never happen. No, I mean, in some ways it's too early for feedback. I mean, unless I totally am like stealing an idea from something, or because you can't say whether an idea is good or not in some ways in the beginning, because so much is about the execution or the specifics of like how, because it's kind of a vague pitch in a way. It's like I want to do this game that's about two stories, about a boy and a girl in really separate different worlds who are navigating the space in between them. That could mean a lot of different things. That could be told many different ways. So it's really hard for anyone to say like, that's a good idea. But I mean, because you do have some idea of how you're going to do it, but you can't articulate all of it. Catch up with you later. They always feel me walking out of the room.
Okay. Are you ready for me?
Yeah, I'm ready for you. It's like this. No, don't use that one. Oh God, it's gonna be the one you use. I was doing my Magnum face.
I I guess people have put money down. Some people have put a lot of money down. Are you feeling real pressure to make sure it's good? Like more so than your other games?
People always ask that, and I'm wondering what they thought I was gonna do before.
Take it and run.
I can't wait to make this crappy game. I don't know. I mean, I'm scared about some things that will happen on the project, which is, I think, did we already talk about people being disappointed? Well, once we talk about what the game actually is, and we talk about this boy and this girl, there's going to be some people who are disappointed that it's not about an armadillo and a spider, or whatever they hoped it would be. There's a game, but it just collapsed from infinite possibility into this one particular game.
See, the internet is just giving you a lot of money, over $2 million. Now, if it appeared that you were wasting this money to make an inferior product, that would be very disappointing.
I mean, people who think, there's a lot of people who ask me, do you feel a lot of pressure now? Are you scared? And I think they just don't realize what I do all day, because a lot of my day is like, in the past year, it's been like, look at the bank account. Oh, there's no money in there. I guess I'll fire everyone today. You know what I mean? That's pressure. That's scary. Like, I'm sweating now just thinking about that. And I don't have to worry about that for a long time, and that's great. But also, sitting around thinking about what my hero should do until Act 3, like that is the most easy, pleasant part of my day. You know, the time I spend locked in my office in the morning writing is like, I feel like I'm a kid again, because this is like that's the easy part of my job. And you know, over the past 20 years, I've built a company which puts a lot of things added onto that, like thinking about business, thinking about HR, thinking about negotiating a deal with a publisher, and thinking about payroll, and then thinking about team management and who should be the next project leader and what game should they work on, and these two people aren't getting along, and the building's going to turn off our power on Thursday, and just all these things. Like, this is what the totality of the company, these are all the things I think about, and just me sitting in my office with my notebook is like a little vacation. I'm like, I know, then a spaceship could come down, and yeah, that'd be great. So I'm having a blast with that stuff. Maybe they're just in it for the documentary. I think a lot of people are. And the process, I think people, want to see the creative process, and the story of us making the game is a different, obviously its own story. But who knows, they'll get the game, they'll start it up, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I have to point and click on all this stuff? Oh, and now I don't know what to do. I have to think about a solution to it. Oh, but who cares? We got their money, right? Am I right, you guys? Just kidding. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna love it.